my screen. We're super happy to be here at this first camp, and excited to have so many people here and just to have a chance to share with you all what we've been working on. So we'll be talking about Discover Drupal, which is a new program all about starting careers in Drupal and getting more people into the community and building up that talent. So just to introduce ourselves, my name's Suzanne Dergacheva. I'm the co-founder of Evolving Web and have been doing Drupal for about 14 years. And I'm also the lead of the Promote Drupal initiative. And so I've been involved in the Drupal Association for a while as a board member, and now I'm also helping out with this new Discover Drupal program. Angie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Angie Sabin. I'm the Chief Finance and Operations Officer for the Drupal Association. I've been with the organization for almost 3 years now, and in addition to finance and operations and all of the HR aspects of our organization, I've also been involved in our internal efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as developing this program, which has been very much a passion project since we've got a pretty full plate, as you can tell by my title, but it's been such an awesome program to partner with community members on.
Thanks, Angie. So I just wanted to, I'll start off just by kind of motivating where this program grew out of, and I'm sure this is something that many of you here today can relate to. What motivates people to, well, first of all, I want to talk about what motivates people to learn Drupal in the first place, because Discover Drupal kind of comes out of that. So I know for many of us here today, we might be inside the Drupal community, we might have been using Drupal for many years, or maybe we're fairly new. In either case, there are certain messages that I think we send externally, that we send outside to say, here's why you should use Drupal. So here are the messages that I think we're sending. And this comes kind of from my background doing work with Promote Drupal, trying to market Drupal and improve these marketing messages. But this kind of sums up what I see as being the main points that we tend to repeat again and again. So first, I hear this a lot. You know, Drupal is a really flexible platform. So the software itself is something very powerful that we can use to build experiences. And so this is a story we tell to try and get people excited, like, okay, Drupal is super powerful, so come and learn Drupal and start using it for your projects. Another story that we tell a lot in Drupal, but also maybe in other open source projects, is we say, hey, Drupal's open source, it's free, you can download it, there's no licensing fees, it's maintained by this global community. And so the fact that it's open source and free and community supported, like that's a reason to start using it and start getting involved and start learning Drupal. So that's another kind of thread in the story. And then the other thread, and this is one that I tell people a lot as part of the Drupal training program that I run at Evolving Web. You know, I say, okay, like once you know Drupal, this is kind of this superpower, and a lot of people who are hiring are looking for people who know Drupal. They're looking for that Drupal talent, and that's not just developers, but it's also, you know, if you're a designer and you know Drupal, or you're a content editor, or a project manager and you know Drupal, that's just so valuable. There's so many projects that need that work, that's also another reason to get into Drupal. So that's what those are the stories we tell to kind of get people excited, get them in the door. And then there comes the point at which people think, oh, well, okay, maybe I will learn Drupal. And they take the next step. And so I'm sure many of us have met these people. Maybe some of us are these people. We're in that process where we're thinking, oh yeah, I should improve my Drupal skills, or I should start to learn the basics. So what does that look like for me? And the message is that we kind of, tell people is, yeah, Drupal's open source. So all the code is right there for you. And that means you can just start learning. And I remember when I was learning, well, I learned WordPress first, and then I learned Drupal, and I really liked learning by doing, and I liked going into the browser and inspecting the page, and then just the fact that you could look at the code, even if you didn't know what it all meant, it did kind of help. So that was, and that's something that I know that I've told people, yeah, open source is great because everything's right there, it's all available. And then the other thing that we tell people is that in open source, there's a lot of sharing of information. Like, you go to an event like this one, and people are really eager to share. They'll tell you, how they solved a problem, or how they started learning, or they'll tell you how they're running their business, or how they managed a project. So there tends to be probably more sharing than maybe in other things that you're trying to learn that aren't Drupal or that aren't open source. And so we see that as something that's really beneficial to the learning process. But in fact, when it comes down to it, these things are not entirely true, right? So if you are saying, oh yeah, I'll learn Drupal because it's open source, because there's this community, yeah, there are lots of individuals who are happy to get you started with Drupal, and there's mentorship programs and things like that. Especially, I mean, when I say mentorship programs, I'm specifically thinking, you go to DrupalCon and there's a contribution day, and there's mentors who are volunteering to help you get set up. And so that does exist. There's like obviously tons of people who are friendly and welcoming, many of whom I see here today at this event. But the Drupal community is also really intimidating. This is an image I've seen at so many DrupalCons, where there's just a mass of people on their laptops, doing things, and there's so many people, there's so much to learn, and it's really hard to know where to start, or who to ask, or which is the friendly person that I should talk to who can help me where I'm at. And there's also, of course, there's lots of learning resources available if you go on Drupal TV, or you find a certain YouTube channel that has some friendly tutorials, or you look at Drupal Planet. There's a lot of content out there, and people are really willing to share, which is fantastic. But partly that gives you information overload, and what's kind of missing is like the pathway. Like, there's so much information, where do I start? Or how much of this is essential knowledge versus stuff that maybe I don't need to know for the first project I'm doing? It's really hard to turn that filter on if you're looking at a whole list of tutorials or videos or sessions that you could possibly attend. So that quantity of content is fantastic when you're using it as a reference, but it's less fantastic when you're just starting out and you're trying to take that first step. And so these are some of the problems, but also there's good stuff in there too, right? There's so much good stuff. And so when I started getting involved in the Discover Drupal program, I think that part of the effort was to try and solve these problems. It's something that I've been thinking about for years, because at Evolving Web, I run a Drupal training program, been running for about 10 years. And a lot of people do go through that program and get step-by-step help. But the program's really designed for, people whose companies are sending them to this training. It's not accessible to everyone. It's not something that's just freely available. And so this is part of what Discover Drupal is here to solve. So Angie's going to talk more about what Discover Drupal actually is and what it's trying to do.
Thanks, Suzanne. So I want to give a little background on how this all got started before I dig into how the program works. So it was over a year ago now. I think it was actually maybe late 2019. We were approached at the Drupal Association by Gwendolyn Anello, and she'd been working with a group of community members and trainers that were interested in developing a program to help bring more diverse talent to Drupal. And they'd been working on this for a while, and we're really just looking for a partner in us as an organization to be able to act as that base for developing the program. It was really exciting that she reached out to us because Heather Rocker, our executive director, and I had already been talking about the same concept, which really aligned well with the values that both Heather and I share, but also with our strategic plan that is about a year old now, or was developed about a year ago. So one of the aspects of our strategic plan is actually to increase talent and diversity in Drupal. So we'd already been talking about how we accomplish that. So we just thought it was great that they reached out to us, because rather than us creating our own training, we wanted to go to trainers in the community that are already doing this so well and have great curriculum. So after many months of talking with Gwendolyn and just going through a lot of the work that she'd already been doing, we started collaborating and reached out to invite trainers from the community to get involved with the planning and really try to hone in on, okay, how do we make some consistent approaches to learning Drupal? How do we, what does the curriculum need to be? What does the experience need to look like? So we got some trainers involved, and we started with a small group since this was our pilot year. We also recruited a volunteer program manager that I want to mention because she's done such an awesome job for us, Allison Manley of Canopy Studios. You can move on to the next slide. So with our team of trainers and our lead volunteer in place, we started planning and a lot of planning together and talking through program design and courses and figuring out how this should all work. And we eventually landed on a program design of 3 career pathways. So site builder, front-end developer, and back-end developer. And again, we utilized our training partners' existing curriculum to do that and sort of looked at where there might be gaps for certain things, like accessibility, training to make sure that all the students had some of the same aspects as well as topics that they needed specific to their pathway. And then to ensure that all the students within a pathway had a consistent experience, because that's one of the things that we're trying to address is just giving them a roadmap. We did assign each trainer a pathway. So site builder for this year is Evolving Web. We have Media Current delivering front-end developer, and Drupal Easy is delivering the back-end developer training. So in addition to that, we have Drupalize Me providing supplementary learning opportunities through their platform. So all of the students get a 1-year account with them. And the entire program is designed to span 1 year, including a prerequisite course that covers HTML and CSS so that individuals without any experience can participate in the program. So we began recruitment once we got all of that dialed in. And really started by partnering with an organization called Genesis Works, and they provide career pathways and opportunities for underrepresented high school students. So they promoted the program to the successful alumni of their program, because everybody coming through Discover Drupal is 18 or over. So they really marketed that toward them. We also did outreach to various networks for individuals looking to break into tech and held multiple informational sessions for potential students. And in those sessions, we really highlighted, what's in it for them, what kind of career opportunities exist in Drupal, and why learning Drupal and launching a career in Drupal should be exciting. More recently, we've started to also do some talks at HBCUs. Our first talk was a couple of weeks ago at Morehouse College, which was really exciting. So our CTO, Tim, and I collaborated on that so he could answer some of the more technical questions about what working in Drupal is like, but that's going to be part of our recruitment efforts moving forward. And you can move on to the next slide. So Around the same time that we started recruiting students, we also set out to recruit mentors, which we felt was a really important and critical aspect of the program. So what we wanted to do was build a network of mentors so that students would have access to a variety of skills and experiences and individuals to learn from, and also be able to build authentic connections with people that they just, authentically and just naturally feel a connection to. So rather than assign one mentor per student, we created this network of mentors. And I'm happy to say that we were able to recruit a network of 23 from across the globe, which is very exciting to us. And it enables us to provide support almost 5 days a week, almost around the clock. So they can connect directly via private Slack channel on the Drupal Association Slack. So they can log on anytime and ask questions of the mentors or just hang out and get to know each other. And the students can also, if they want to, choose to connect more directly with a mentor. So our mentor team is also headed by 2 lead mentors who help provide suggestions to the group, keep them informed, and they just generally manage the mentoring process. So we actually just wrapped up the prerequisites course for our pilot program year, which is very exciting. The course was 5 weeks long. And from here, all of the students will be launching into their more focused pathway. And those all start the last week of this month. So once they go through their courses, which will be, some of them end right at the end of December, some of them go a little bit further into January, but after the completion of the training, all the students will work together on a final project, which is going to be overseen by one of our training partners. I think actually Evolving Web and Suzanne has volunteered to do that. But during the final project, they'll continue to have access to the mentor network so that they can help them work through that project. So this is going to give them some actual hands-on experience so that they can say, yes, I've learned Drupal, but I actually have worked on something. And, we just think also the collaboration involved and the experience of working together on that is going to be really critical to their success. Then at the end of the program, students will be able to attend DrupalCon, which currently we are planning to have in person if all continues to go well. We'll provide an opportunity for the students to come on full scholarship. And during the program, they will get to meet with the program sponsors and also community members, obviously, as there will be a lot of community people at the conference. We'll match students with specific mentors during the conference so that they have a buddy. And then we're going to have specific recommendations for the sessions that they should attend so that they can get into sessions that are kind of appropriate for where they're at in their learning journey to ensure that they have the best possible experience. We're also planning to do a little get together for the students during that time so we can celebrate them having gone through the program. And so, let's see, gotta move my notes forward. So a couple other things about the program. So for this year and beyond, so we had a goal of 10 students for this year, and we ended up with 8, which is, we're excited that we got pretty close to hitting that goal of 10. We intentionally kept our cohort of students small to give them the opportunity to connect in a deeper way. So the 8 students we have are from around the United States and come from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. For the pilot year, we did keep this open to the US only, mostly due to funding and since a lot of this was brand new and launching it, we wanted to keep a focus, but we definitely want to expand as we increase funding and therefore the ability to scale globally. But we felt like keeping the group of students small, even after this first pilot year, we'll plan to have smaller cohort groups of students that are connected and can collaborate with each other during their learning process. So the program is available to individuals from underrepresented groups, and We talk about this a little bit on the website that we have, which is on Drupal.org /Discover Drupal if you want to check that out. But for us, we are considering underrepresented groups at this time to be people that identify as ethnic or racial minorities, mostly because that's where the biggest disparities lie in all aspects of diversity and inclusion. So that's where we're at this time. But I wanted to mention that it's really due to the generosity of our sponsors and training partners that we're able to make the training completely free. So all of the students get to go through the training at no cost. They also received a free laptop as part of the program, and those were also donated by some of our sponsors. And I wanted to just shout out to Meg Plunkett at Lillibot because she refurbished all of them for us and then shipped them out to all the students, which was a pretty huge undertaking, and was just amazing of her to do on her free time. But we really wouldn't be able to make this program happen without the generous support of our sponsors and training partners. They've donated their time, treasure, and talent to make this first year possible. And it's just been really wonderful. And especially thank you to Suzanne for putting this together and inviting me to talk about it. So there's another thing to share with you, which is that we'd love your help. We'd love for you to get involved. So there are a lot of different ways you can help. We're currently in our pilot year, so we've already recruited all of our mentors for this year, but there will be opportunities in 2022. We don't yet have dates for our next training session, but those will be determined later this year, and we will make sure to keep our web page updated as well as share that on our social media and in our Drupal Association newsletter. So that's one way that you can be involved. We also want to be able to scale and grow this program, especially so we can make it more global. So we'll be looking for financial support from individuals, corporate sponsors, and even laptop donations for future sessions. And then we're going to be looking to recruit more students. So if you know someone or know of a network of people that would be interested, we'd love for you to share the program. Finally, if you could connect with our students, if you come across them on Slack or at a Drupal camp or at DrupalCon even, we would love for you to say hello, welcome them to the community. Each month, I'll be sharing information about each student in a blog post. So watch out for the first one that's coming up. We're going to be putting that out in our newsletter for August. And we'll also post on social media in case you're not a subscriber. But for the students that opt in to be featured, they will each get a blog post over the course of the program. So if you have ideas or if you want to stay connected and in contact about the program, you can email me at drupaltalent@association.drupal.org. It's up there on the screen as well. And you can check out the website as well that has more information on the program. So questions, comments? And feel free to go off mute if you'd like, or just post in chat if you prefer to do that.
Maybe just while people have a chance to think. I know one of the things that I'm thinking about for already the next round or the next year is how we can scale this up, or how we can maybe take parts of this program and extend the number of people that can take advantage, just to try and make it have more impact, because I think there's a lot of good things, but it would be great if a larger group of people could take advantage. So that's sort of a challenge that I'm thinking of, how we can do that. Oh, I see a comment from Kat Shaw. Have you recruited from Votech schools and community colleges? I don't know,
Yeah,
Angie.
we have not, but that is a great idea. So I will definitely add that to the list. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know there's already some Drupal agencies out there that do that as part of their recruitment. So maybe there's even already people who have those connections and would know who to talk to that we can kind of use to get a foot in the door.
So someone asked if students can do this alongside a full-time job. I guess it would depend on their schedule and when they work. Most of the courses happen during the day, 2 days a week, and are between 2 and 3 hours long. So we do have a couple of students in the program that are working full-time. It's a little bit of a lift because obviously you're doing work. It's a lot of extra, but it's we don't make it a criteria that you aren't working or doing something else. We also have a couple of students that are finishing their traditional degree alongside the program. And I wanted to mention something that Heather posted, which we are looking for training partners outside of North America for 2022 so that we can start scaling this program. So if you know someone or that sounds like something you'd be interested in and you're already doing Drupal training, please reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you.
That's actually something that could help with that work like scheduling balance, because the more time zones that we offer training in, kind of just the more options people have for when could they actually participate in the course.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and my company's based in Canada, so I'm always the one to say, oh, how can we make sure this works outside the US? It's something that I've thought about a bit too. Any other questions? Oh, Gigi has a question.
Yes. Yeah, it's currently open to all ethnic and racial minorities. So we're not specifically honing in on one or two subgroups. So yes. And I'm sorry, I'm reading some of the questions here as well. We haven't yet reached out to disabled veterans. We wanted to start with, in terms of, deciding where to start, we wanted to focus on ethnic and racial minorities because we feel like that's one of the biggest disparities that exists in technology and open source. So that's where we wanted to start. And I will say that, I come from social justice background from my previous organizations. And one of the things that I personally have been taught is that starting with race and starting with that aspect of it can be the most impactful, because it's not just technology, but it's kind of across the board where those disparities are some of the greatest. So I think there's obviously a lot of intersectionality that exists, and all of those intersectionalities and identities are important. And we don't, think that there's challenges obviously exist for all of those aspects, but we wanted to pick one place to start so we could address that specific disparity. And I'd be happy to chat further about that with anyone that wants to do that offline. Yeah, so how can I help people locally to recruit them into this program? So definitely, refer them to the website. I've also got a couple of slide decks that I can share with you. And I also have some like 2-page pamphlets that talk about why they would want a career in Drupal, because I think that's the place that the approach that we want to take is, this is a great opportunity that there's a huge demand for talent in Drupal. We hear that all the time. So we want them to get excited about Drupal as a career. So I've got a lot of material I can share with you. And then once we start recruitment for the next session, we'll have a lot of different webinars that people can sign up for. So we will share that information as we finalize those dates for sure.
Well, just wanted to thank everyone for all the positive comments and feedback. We're really thrilled to be able to share this and get your input and really make it something that the whole community is behind. So this is really exciting.
Sorry about that. I just got an emergency alert on my phone and it was very loud. Okay, sorry. We're having a heat wave in Portland. Everything's fine, but big alert there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the questions. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'd love to chat with you more. Bye.
Bye, thanks.